Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. The Great Distant Worlds expedition is now around about 10 days into its journey across the galaxy. Players are resting up at Waypoint 2. This video here documents my journey between Waypoints 1 and Waypoint 2. The massive community event got underway on the 13th of January, a Sunday, with around about 12,000 registered players, making it by far the largest in-game event ever undertaken within the game. Amazingly, the servers were working very well at this point, and we departed on schedule from the meeting grounds. It's hard to talk about Distant Worlds 2 without talking about the first expedition. This has historical significance within the game and many people remember it, and it was at the time, and for a long time after, the largest in-game expedition. It was only fitting then that the initial departure point was going to be from the original Distant Worlds tourist beacon here in the Pallaeni system. And things got very busy very quickly. There was also a lot of NPC ships here in addition to the player ones. The countdown soon reached zero and excitement started to build as we gained momentum to go into Supercruise and then eventually hyperspace towards the Waypoint 2, which had just been revealed. Suddenly then, right across the game, many thousands of players jumped into Supercruise all at the same moment, and the servers just couldn't cope. Frontier were pretty quick to get on the case and they were looking at things, and within an hour or so people were back in to a stable game world. The second launch that you can see right here, this was for the USA time zone, went perfectly smoothly without any problems at all, and I hear that Frontier staff were in the offices at the time making sure that things went much smoother. Waypoint 1 then was right here in the inhabited human bubble, and Waypoint 2 some 5,000 light years away in the Omega Nebula. And along the way there were many points of interest to check out. In fact, the Distant Worlds organisers had been sure to write up an itinerary of all the popular and most beautiful places to check out. After briefly stopping at Shapley 1, the big point of interest was here and a planet called the View, a high G world, 3.3 Gs, in a beautifully coloured system. Now the planet right here came to infamy very quickly as more than one commander lost their ship down on the surface, impacting on the ground a little bit too hard, harder than their ship's hulls and shields could take, thereby exploding and finding themselves back where they started. This of course meant that players had to pay attention when landing. The high G, the high gravity, made things a little bit difficult, but not only that, this area had a very rough surface indeed, making it a little bit awkward to actually touch down in a nice flat zone. Meeting up here again with my wing buddies, this was a temporary resting place before once again moving on onto the rest of the journey. Now this system, this planet, isn't just famous for the view, but also many other things going on here, including the biological life, somewhat known as space pumpkins by the community. But the ring systems are also worth checking out due to the awesome lighting, as is the nearby tourist beacon, which is parked up very closely near a neutron star. Personally, I'm not sure just how good this would actually be if you wanted to go here for a holiday break, but you know, the flashing lights and all that may be a thing for some people. Further away, I took the opportunity to stop off at Hillary's depot and, well, repaired some heat damage I'd taken. Not sure how I got that, but I'm glad I did because there was a stunning view here. It made the stop off well worthwhile, and if you're heading this way, do take a look. You may find you see something that you weren't quite expecting. Quite a few jumps later, you come to Clycaldia. Now this is a gorgeous planet. It's a ringed Earth-like. They're quite rare, you don't come across them that often, and this one was made all the more beautiful by its stunning lighting. And this showed to great effect in the ring systems. I'm a big fan of ring systems, you may well know, and any opportunity I get, especially in unique locations, I'll make sure to drop off and check them out. Now, despite having checked the galaxy out and explored it quite extensively over the past few years, Distant Worlds 2 is already turning out to be pretty special. The itinerary that the Distant Worlds organisers have put together is very impressive, and if you haven't looked at it, do make sure you do. It is linked below in the video description. But it's not just that, it's also the new visuals, both the colour grading as well as the lighting system. It makes revisiting all these locations very worthwhile. Now here is the Bug Nebula. I only stopped off here briefly, there wasn't much in the way of landable planets, but it's pretty hard to pass up the opportunity to check out such a gorgeous location. Now technically this isn't a true nebula, it's actually a planetary nebula, but that makes it all the more special as these are very rare. Now further out was a planet called Labirinto, or as could be translated, Labyrinth, and it's really not hard to see why this planet has been given that name. In fact, I'd even go as far as saying that this is perhaps one of the best looking planets in the entire game at the moment. There's just so many locations at this place to check out that you could keep landing down there and always see something just a little bit different. It makes flying over the surface of these planets extra special as well, especially if you're a fan of canyon running. But it's not just that. The thick fog hanging around, which is a result of outgassing from the planet, gives this planet very much a mild feel of it being an atmospheric world. And that in itself is a very nice touch. Now I did take the opportunity to fly down into one of the deeper canyons here, which turned out to be well over 10 kilometers deep, and well, there was a few surprises down there. I didn't actually land the ship right at the bottom of the canyon here because it was a little bit rough, but after flying through it for a while I found a natural shelf. I of course took the opportunity to get out and drive around here in the SRV, and this really did prove to give you a true sense of scale of just how deep these canyons are. Yes, 10 kilometers really does look a lot when you're looking up at these cliffs. Now the next stop for me was the Lagoon Nebula, and well, this was especially interesting as this was the original Waypoint 2 back in Distant Worlds 1. Now this was a special location even back in 2015, but it's just that much better now with the improved lighting, and of course we've got geological surface features which weren't available back then either. Now if we really think about it, there are a huge number of things that have changed between Distant Worlds 1 and Distant Worlds 2. Part of it, of course, is the massive improvement we've got to jump range now. Ships can jump much more than twice what they originally could, but in many ways it's the galaxy itself that has evolved. You can see it in places like Thor's Eye, which now looks a lot different to it did on my previous visit, but it's not just that. Out here, we are not alone. There's alien life to be found. Even more curiously, there's plenty of human life to be found out here. Since the days of Distant Worlds 1, humanity has spread across the stars, colonizing not only the second bubble of Colonia, but many points in between. These then are just a few of the things which for me, as I look back over the years of Elite Dangerous, really does make the galaxy feel as though it has a life of its own. And of course, players have had quite an impact on it as well. The last stop before finally arriving at the Omega Nebula was at this other planetary nebula. I was guided here by a player during one of my live streams, and it proved to be well worthwhile. A stunning location with this just unusual lighting, very surreal. For many players then, the first leg of the journey is now over. They have arrived at Omega Nebula, but their work is not done. Here then, at Omega Mining Orbital, many players are now busy mining in preparation to construct a station at the middle of the galaxy. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.